I'm live. Okay, I gotta remember, even before people join, I should talk because this goes on my channel as a video, unless I decide to take it down, which I won't. But hey, how's it all going? It's a Thursday night here. Cheers. And I thought, because I had a bit of free time, I might do a little live broadcast and say hello to the world, practice a bit more with this YouTube live shenanigans and see what's what. I've certainly had a lot of fun since yesterday, since posting my video saying the people who are upset at the young Muslim woman for bringing up refugees on Anzac Day, pointing out that they were just idiot bigots. The live viewers are starting, hey Nathan, how's it going? So that's given me a bit of a head of steam, having had such a fun effect on these really, really quite stupid, hypocritical morons. So this is the thing, is I've said so many times, obviously if someone's a bigot or just obnoxious in some way, I really don't like them. Hello, Aussie brick chick. But you know what you should do? You should, I don't think you live in Melbourne, but you should come to my house. I have 2 massive boxes of random Lego bricks, some complete sets, but it's mainly mixed up stuff that kids have outgrown, and I'd rather someone took than I just chuck them out. And hello, Bo. Yeah, I gave away a whole bunch of kits. It's funny, before I moved, I sort of set out on Twitter and Facebook that I had a huge amount of Lego that I wanted to get rid of. A lot of them were still incomplete. The kits were in the box. And one woman said, yeah, me, I think it was actually for her nieces and nephews, not her own kids. And she came to pick them up, and I had heaps more than she realized. Like, I think she was taking it on a plane back to Tasmania. So she took some of the complete sets, and I still have, really big cardboard boxes that are full of Lego bricks. This is absolutely for real, Bo. I am offering an enormous amount of Lego to just be given away for anyone who can come and pick it up in Melbourne. And if that is you, just hit me up on Twitter or Facebook message or something. Thank you, Aussie Brick Chick. Yes, it has been raised that there may be some kids' things I could donate to. Oh, that light's going to do that occasionally. Hopefully it's not too distracting, but the light flickers occasionally. I'm going to have to look at that and work out how to replace the globe in it, because it's a useful light, but it's not as useful if it does that. One of the reasons I like doing this live thing is it's good practice. I mean, it's good just to interact with people. Interact with people through comments, but live interaction is fun. It's fun to mix things up, and also it's good practice for me for doing a live thing, just being able to talk, just being able to keep things going, come up with ideas and flesh out ideas. And then particularly if I come up with anything particularly good in a live feed, I can hopefully reuse that for a video. Okay, yeah, message me on Facebook about the Lego and we'll see what comes up. Drink specking burp. Talking like Rick from Rick and Morty. I'm trying to actually suppress the burps. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just go full Rick. And who watches Rick and Morty? I got season 1 and 2 on DVD in a cute little box set that had a Mr. Meeseeks plushie in it as well. It's interesting rewatching, because I'd watched all of Rick and Morty. I rewatched it and I still enjoy it. But there's one episode in each season where they're flicking through channels on a TV, like alien channels, where weird, stupid stuff happens. And when I think a lot of people would be able to tell just by watching it. But that episode, more than most, the guys who record the voices, they just went in to a studio with a mic and just said whatever bizarre shit came into their head, and the animators had to animate it. And that was the idea, like flipping channels. So if they could keep something going for 5 seconds, that was as long as it lasted. If they could keep going for a minute, then the segment lasted for a minute. And rewatching those ones, I'm going to say something sacrilegious here. This is from someone who really likes Rick and Morty. I don't think those 2 episodes hold up very well, because I think it's really obvious they're making stuff up off the top of their head, and there's very rarely any payoff to it. So the other episodes are incredibly strong on rewatch and high damage. But I think, yeah, like I said, this is borderline sacrilegious for Rick and Morty fans, but I think those intergalactic TV episodes don't hold up nearly as well when you rewatch them, because, you know, comedy's meant to have a payoff. You can just say weird things and get a laugh, but I personally, for me, I don't think that is very sustaining. Where as the other episodes, I mean, they're great, and as absurd as the other episodes are, and I love the absurdity of them, there's a structure and a thread that runs through them. And yeah, those TV channel flipping ones, first time you watch them, I thought they were very funny. Second time, not so much. You know, maybe, you know, if you were high, they'd be funnier. Maybe that's a project for me for another day. Don't do drugs, kids. They're bad. Yeah, Tanguin, I get what you're saying about, and this is purely a personal taste thing. Obviously, see, this is one thing that bugs me. See, if I really like a TV show and someone else doesn't like it, that's fine. Your personal taste is subjective and it's yours, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's when people act smug about it, or just like they think they're extra clever because they don't like the thing that other people, they don't like Rick and Morty, they don't like The Walking Dead, they don't like Game of Thrones, they're above that. It's like, fuck off, wanker. Yeah, difference of opinion, fine. Being a smug prick about it, not so much. Now the question, do I have a favourite episode? Thinking through, it's almost like, you know, there are bits that make each episode stronger in their own way. I'm thinking, okay, obviously the ones that pop into my head are likely to be the ones that had the best effect on me. The one where Morty gets a sex robot. Lethusaurus. That is what you do when you haven't commented before. You do it now, and I say hi. The one where Morty gets a sex robot, and there's just that hysterical scene where the family is around the table apart from Morty because he's upstairs shagging the sex robot, and there's this constant thump, 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 squeak, squeak, squeak while the family's around the table, and his sister just looks up at one point like, are we all going to pretend this isn't happening? And then there was the whole payoff of it was actually a gestation unit, and it's like an evil killing machine monster, and Morty tries to stop it, and he turns out to be a bad parent. And then I keep forgetting character names. Morty and oh god, what's Morty's sister's name? Rick and her go up to the feminist planet, and there are some very funny jokes without being sort of really nasty and shitty about feminism. G'day from Freezing Taz, David. That's it, summer. Thank you, Nathan. It is pretty cold in Melbourne after a lot of bizarrely warm and mild weather. Just for a couple of days now, we've had change, rain and cold. It's not going to be anywhere near like Tasmania. I know Tasmania gets it far worse than us, but it's a little bit cold here. And my heater appears to be broken. It was making terrible noise and made me think it was going to blow up. So I switched it off. So I have no who. Yes, the planet where women are equal to men, but not really. So that's one that pops to my head. And then there was the episode where the weird entity was voiced by the guy from Flight of the Conchords, and he actually sang a song like a Flight of the Conchords song, and Morty thinks he's doing good by releasing this entity, and his actions just cause all this death, and Rick's basically sarcastically putting him down. How's that choice going, Morty? You sure you made the right choice? Oh yeah, the Unity episode's good too. And then it turns out the entity wants to wipe out the universe, so Morty has to destroy it anyway. The Unity episode is funny. Oh, yeah, the episode... See, this is the thing. We could basically say there is good stuff about pretty much every episode of Rick and Morty, in my opinion. The batteries within the batteries within the batteries is funny. Oh my God. You went from Central Queensland to the Latrobe Valley? That's a savage change. But I do actually agree with you that a lot of the time it's easier to warm up than cool down, which is why I don't live anywhere tropical, but I also don't like really cold weather, so I'm not going to live in the mountains or anything. I like visiting the mountains, even in winter, even for a weekend. I'm a more temperate kind of guy, which is why I like Melbourne. But even Melbourne will have spells where it feels too cold and wet for too long, and too hot for too long. But, that's life. I'm not rich enough to move around a lot. Yes, well, dark. Rick and Morty, often with the people killing themselves. Like the Purge episode, I thought was pretty funny too, where they're broken down and Rick realizes, we're on a purge planet. They have a purge. And that was all kinds of messed up. Oh yeah, cyclones. You don't want that. Captain Fizzman. Hey, how you doing, brew? Yep, slavery with extra steps. Exactly. And also the bit where they liberated the underclass from the purge, but then they had to create a new society, and they were all going to be like incredibly violent. I mean, because you look at the history of humanity, and it's just a cavalcade of violence. Well, I try to mess with... Well, I'm not really messing with people's head, but it's like a thought thing. I like people to think and acknowledge and understand the only reason you exist. This is whoever you are, wherever you are in the world. The only reason you exist is because someone else suffered horribly and died. Back along your genealogical line, there are incidents of violence, murder, rape, genocide, that if they hadn't have happened, you don't exist. I'm trying to read the name. It's Genoria. Hello, Genoria. So it's, if you just want to get real occasionally, just like human existence is violence, basically. We try, and we're in one of the less violent bits of history at the moment. But, Trump's trying his best to mess that up. Oh, see, now we've brought up Rick and Morty. Every time someone brings something up, I remember it and laugh. Like the car whose job it is to keep Summer safe initially does simple things like kill people. But then Summer says, you're not allowed to kill people. And then it does psychological torture. Yeah, this is not what I was expecting either, Jahatma. But it'll go a lot of places. I mean, I know I'm going to do this for an hour or so. We can go a lot of places in an hour. Hey, look, okay, I like the topic of shows that are worth watching. And I love animated shows. Like The Simpsons spoiled us so much. Because prior to The Simpsons, there was no such thing as primetime animation aimed at an older audience. Seriously, the last time prior to The Simpsons that happened was basically the Flintstones. So now we are spoiled. So many good shows. Like, I love Archer. One that's a bit less well known, but you can get it on disc or digital or whatever, probably off a pirate site if you want, is called The Venture Brothers. And I love this show so much. It's obviously made by someone my age because they keep making 80s references. I agree with you, David. Futurama is good, and Bender was a very funny character. Okay, this is people say, oh, you always get distracted. I do. I want to answer questions. Do I like Adventure Time? Yes, I do. Like I was talking about animation aimed at old things, but because I have young kids who still watch the Cartoon Network, and when you see shows like Adventure Time and Regular Show and Steven Universe and quite a few others, really quite surreal, thought-provoking, and good. Oh, good. Chinoria knows The Venture Brothers. The Venture Brothers, like I said, is made by someone my age because there's heaps of 80s music references in it. But it's someone who grew up on Saturday morning cartoons like Johnny Quest and Scooby-Doo and a few other ones like that. Basically, the Venture Brothers, Hank and Dean, and their dad's a super scientist, but he's clearly a hack and quite a weirdo. And it's his father who was a genius super scientist. And young Rusty Venture has just, well, he's not young, he's middle-aged, has just been milking everything his dad did. And the Venture Brothers, Hank and Dean, they're just spectacular. They're real misfit teenagers, but not in the way you think. And they have this huge bodyguard called Brock who has this big blonde mullet. He's awesome. And just the references, like, as I said, this is made by people who clearly watch Scooby-Doo. One episode, they have an obvious reference for the Scooby-Doo characters, except they're 20 years older and they're seriously fucked up. They're really funny. Oh, Brock Sampson's in Poker Nights too. Okay. But The Venture Brothers is very good. Like, at the same time, I got the Rick and Morty DVDs. I got the most recent season of The Venture Brothers, which I think is season 6. And it's taken like 10 or 12 years to get 6 seasons. And honestly, the most recent season of Venture Brothers is much better than Rick and Morty. And I like Rick and Morty, but the Venture Brothers is just sort of above it. And yeah, I like Archer as well. I like Bob's Burgers. It's very weird when Doc and Marty... Sorry, a few people have seen The Venture Brothers, and then we could have so many in-jokes because so much weird shit happens in that show. It's really worth it. Yeah, watching Archer's how you get ants. But the guy who does the same voice, the voice actor, Bob the Builder, I'm glad you're a fan of Bob the Builder, Jim Mafru. So the guy who does the voice for Archer, he's also Bob in Bob's Burgers. But there was a show from, about 10 years ago, probably longer, called Home Movies. And it's interesting because this is before YouTube, and it's basically the story of a kid who makes movies with a video camera in his mum's basement with his friends, and there's no YouTube, so no one ever sees. He sometimes shows these movies to his friends, and they're like, spectacularly tackily made and twisted. The guy who does the voice for Archer and Bob from Bob's Burgers is a voice actor in this series, a character called Coach McGurk, who's the like PE teacher at the school, and he's huge and morbidly obese and an alcoholic and a sexual deviant and just a general social misfit. And that's where I knew this voice actor from. Like, I watched home movies for years. Yeah, John Benjamin, that's it. Thank you. I thought it was something like that. And then Archer came along, and he's playing suave super spy Archer. And I'm used to him as being obese, alcoholic, deviant school PE teacher. It took a really big mental adjustment to get into Archer because I was just hearing Coach McGurk. So, what other animations do I like? Invader Zim. I'm a big fan of Invader Zim. And that's technically aimed at kids. A lot of stuff I think would go over kids' heads. But you were saying, like, Adventure Time, regular show, definitely kids' shows. Archer, Bob's Burgers, definitely not. But Zim was a kids' show that older people get. Yeah, they are making a Zim movie. They've been republishing the comic for a year or two now. I follow the creator, Jonan Vasquez, on Twitter, and he's very funny. And we should all sing the Doom song, which is just going doom, 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 doom for a year or so. Zim is spectacularly twisted if you've never seen it. In a lot of ways, it's really innocent, like compared to Rick and Morty or whatnot, but it's in its own way, it's spectacularly twisted. So, I think it's definitely worth it. Family Guy is like, it's just a series of cheap jokes. I mean, if I was an adolescent boy, I'd find it hilarious. But yeah. Oh yeah, let's change topic. Let's talk movies. I'm a movie fan. The huge number of superhero movies, and I actually saw Guardians of the Galaxy today, and it was fun. I think it's crazy that we get so many superhero movies now. I thought the first really good one was Iron Man. No way I'm doing any spoilers. But I thought the first really good modern superhero movie was Iron Man. But then they did a whole series of good. The Captain American ones have been pretty good. Guardians of the Galaxy was good. I liked Ant-Man. I liked Doctor Strange. I don't hate the DC ones as much as a lot of people do. I'm really hoping Wonder Woman's good. It looks like it might be. So I'm really hoping that's good. But yeah, it's weird how many of them we get there. Yes, I agree. Doctor Strange was done very well. Benedict Mumblesnatch was particularly good in that. Considering, they had to do an origin story and everything. So, honestly, RC, you're probably right. There might be too many superhero movies. But there's just enough Star Wars movies now. Someone asked about Star Wars. I really liked The Force Awakens. I really liked Rogue One. They've done the teaser trailer for The Last Jedi now. Doesn't really give anything away. Tanguin, yes. Well, as the Ghostbusters reboot showed, doesn't take much to get the MRAs into a frothing mess. Now, I recently I loved the Ghostbusters remake, and I recently rewatched it because it's out on home video now, and it's friggin' hilarious. It is a really good movie. And yeah, the MRA bullshit was ridiculous. Rogue One was like Morg One chewed Maris. That was my favourite thing about Rogue One, not killing everyone, but going into it, because you're so used to, someone dies in Star Wars movies, sometimes someone important, like Han Solo in Force Awakens. And I didn't have that spoiled for me. I did not know that going in, that happened. So I was really happy I didn't know that. But yeah, with Rogue One, I was thinking, well, we don't know about any of these characters. And I remember saying before seeing it, as far as we know, they could all die. Bye, Lathu, Zarius. And they did. They all died. And of course, most of them had really spectacular deaths, and people go, I loved it when, oh, look, I just caught that in time. For those who tuned in last time, I actually bought a stand specially to do this, and then I lost it. So went for a ride. So I think we've been talking Rick and Morty, other animations. Now we're on to movies, talking Star Wars at the moment. But yeah, Transformers, a few people comment on Transformers. They're shit. They're just ridiculous. And here's the thing, sometimes people, people get worked up about, I don't like what Michael Bay did to Transformers. The only reason Transformers exists is to sell toys. It's an extended commercial. That is all Transformers ever was. The central concept of Transformers is fucking stupid. It is just dumb as shit. And so Michael Bay went and made some dumb as shit, loud, noisy movies that in some respects were really badly made. But no, Transformers only exists to sell toys, so I don't give a shit. Oh, I've not watched any of the superhero TV series, Daredevil, Jessica Jones. I don't watch any of them. I don't want to get drawn into them. So that was an interesting question. Do I like Fear and Loathing? You mean the book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or the movie with Johnny Depp? Oh, yes, RC, okay. You're as old as me. You remember how after Star Wars, a million really shitty sci-fi movies came out trying to cash in on. It was hilarious. They were non-stop. And that was back in the days when drive-ins still existed and were flourishing. So these were straight to... Hello, philosopher. They went straight into... Yes. Sorry, Gabriel. You got me. I like that. If they're not asking, do I like Fear and Loathing, the book or the movie, just the actual emotional states. Do I enjoy the sensations of fear and loathing? That's how I feel most of the time. I really like Hunter S. Thompson's book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Oh my God, I've got Space 1999 on disc, and I've got UFO on disc. UFO is glorious. It's a Jerry Anderson series, the guy who made Thunderbirds, except it's not puppets, it's live action actors, but he did all the miniatures for it. And UFO is from set in the far-flung distant year of 1984. And it's priceless. If you ever get a chance to watch Jerry Anderson's UFO, do it. It's so good. Like, some of it's just genuinely good, but the campy aspect of it is fucking spectacular. Oh God, now I could go on for ages about Jerry Anderson shows. RoboCop, the original RoboCop movie is really good. And I saw an interview, because of course there was a shitty RoboCop remake, and there's a shitty Total Recall makeup. And I read an interview with the director Paul Verhoeven, and saying like, why do you think the remakes failed? And it's like, well, they took themselves a bit too seriously. Like, we knew our topic was pretty freaking stupid, and we just went with that. That's like a wooden thing. It's got shelves on it. I'm in my kitchen. Oh no, look, RoboCop and Total Recall know they're silly and they just go with it. Ah, fucking Nathan. The recent Dread movie is fucking brilliant. Sadly unappreciated gem. I read Judge Dredd comics back in the 80s. So the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd movie was a major disappointment. And then this one comes out a couple of years ago with Carl Urban, and it's freaking awesome. Really well done. I really hope they do another Dredd movie. Or, yeah, maybe there's so much good stuff being done for TV now. Maybe Dredd TV series. Because there are, 40 years of stories? They could do it so easily. So, yeah, big fan of Dredd. Probably, like, one of the movies I've really liked in the last couple of years, Dredd and Mad Max Fury Road. The Star Wars movies, they were good. There's been a few good movies in the last couple of years, actually. Really quite enjoyed them. Oh, Philosopher, there is so much coming out. Like, all the specialty TV channels now, it's crazy. Wow, what if you do if a clown appeared at my window? Well, it's locked. I would also assume they were some sort of burglar or trespasser. Well, actually, I'm not, because it's locked, I'm not even going to throw anything. You know, I'd probably scream like a little girl, quite honest. If anyone appeared at the window, obviously, that would be disconcerting. But I actually just rewatched Starship Troopers, Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers. They could do with making another Starship. I mean, there were a couple of really shitty sequels. Find My House Scared Me. That's Taz. That's called a crime. Trespassing, and I've got a bunch of old conservative neighbours that would definitely call the cops. My neighbourhood is so quiet. It is so quiet. Like, I had Aidy over here with his boyfriend Jason on the weekend, and we went out in the wee small hours having a bit of an explore, and we were just going, oh my god, this neighbourhood is so quiet. It's like dead. There is no noise. Nothing is happening. It is so quiet here. Yes, Starship Troopers is a classic. My favourite thing about how some people react to Starship Troopers is, okay, the world of Starship Troopers, and this comes from the book that it was based on, is it's a fascist state. And they went to portray, okay, it's a fascist state, but it's not like nobody's rebelling. Everyone is in it, and they love their fascist state. They're in it. And so they basically just tried to show, how a fascist state might run. And I remember seeing interviews with the filmmakers, and they say, like, oh, we get people saying, oh, we really liked the movie, it was good. Oh, but that stuff in it, that was really fascist. I didn't like that. And the filmmakers going, you're not meant to. Yes, it was fascist. That's what we were doing. We were showing a fascist state at war. And of course they do stuff that you and I in the free world don't like because they're fascists. It's like people were missing the point. They thought there's like, I don't think you were doing really fascist things. No, we know. We know we were doing fascist things. That was what we did. So, yes. I mean, I don't know. You could stand to do more Starship Troopers, I think. Oh my god, the question just came up in my last live stream as well. The Ralph Bakshi animation Wizards, which is really good. And geez, I could stand for someone to remake that, particularly as live action, with what you can do with effects now. It's very interesting. It's this fantasy thing. The good guys, like a good wizard and the elves and whatnot, and the bad wizard, who has like orcs, who are the goblins, and they're really cowardly. They'd always get G'd up and go to war, but when they started getting in a fight, they'd run away. But the evil wizard discovers these old film reels, and they're World War II Nazi propaganda, and he uses them to G up the goblins, and they become really brave, and the war becomes really bloody and ugly. And I won't say any more to spoil it in case anyone ever watches it, but it's pretty good. Wizards, and very timely, the thing with Nazi propaganda. Can we stop trying to encourage people to wear clown costumes and come to my house? The sort of thing I'd do to someone else. I worked as a clown for ages. I did a theatre degree, and we used to do clowning at public events. So, okay, true story. Me as a clown. I'm being a happy clown. And I've got a nose. And these little bastard kids would always try and take your nose. We're being red-nosed clowns. And one time was doing it like a school fete, and it was a special needs school. So it was all the kids, they had Down syndrome and other things. And the kids from the school were absolutely lovely. And as a clown, they loved you, and they couldn't get enough if you want not. But all the other kids, from whether they were the brothers and sisters, the kids from the school, or they were just neighbourhood kids, they were rotten little shits. And they were always I had a hat as well, and they're trying to take my hat, my nose. And because they were kids, they weren't very big, so most of the time I could just stay out of their reach. But sometimes I'd misjudge it, and they would get my nose and run off. But what I learned would make them give it back, because they wanted me to chase them. I'm not going to chase them. But if I sat down and cried, they would feel really bad and just take it back. So if they ever got my nose, I'd cry. But there was one kid who was the worst little shit, and he was chasing me and trying to grab my nose, and he was like really physically grabbing it, because I can't punch him even if I wanted to. And I was just trying to get away from him, just really gently, I'm a clown, just moving away. And he kept going, pulling my arm and trying to get my nose, trying to get my hand. And because I kept moving, trying to get away from him, he kept following me. But at one point, I realized where I'd moved, no one could see me. I'd gone sort of behind something, and no one could see me, and no one could see this kid. And I just went, okay, I'm going for it. And he's grab it. And I reached down and grabbed him with two hands and pulled him up to my face and just growled in his face, if you don't fuck off, I will tear your fucking head off and shit down your neck, you little fucking shit. And then dropped him and then went, I'm a clown. And the kid was in shock. Because I went from I'm a clown to grabbing him and putting him in my face and threatening to murder him, and then dropping him and just going I'm a clown. And he had no way of dealing with it, and he was just like, what, and he left me alone for the rest of the day. Yes, versus the children of the corn, RC, I will do that. Those scary little mutants. I mean, wasn't... Oh, yeah, no, Joe Will. I think I traumatized that kid for life. Wasn't Children of the Corn was like classic Steve King, because it starts off, it's just weird and creepy, and and the kids have got their weird culty thing happening, and isn't that weird? This is weird and creepy. And then it's all true. Like, there really is a demonic spirit in the corn. And it's like, that's the Stephen King formula. It's like, something's weird, then something's genuinely evil. And it's like, like it's really haunted, or it's really evil, or it's really twisted, all those sorts of things. I mean, he's a very good writer, but he does have somewhat of a formula. No, not that there's anything wrong with that. If you can keep turning it out on a balloon, we all float down here. It's like one of the latest dank memes is the Pennywise clown in the train. People saying, this would be me, like Pennywise, just even Pennywise threatens to kill me, I just throw myself down the drain, I'm done. The Harvest from 1992. Don't know if I know that one, Tassie. What's another weird movie? Like, well, we've done we've done animation, we've done movies. Hey, I'm a little bit of a comic nerd. Like I said earlier, I used to read Judge Dredd comics. In the 90s, I got into Sandman, which is written by Neil Gaiman. Now I read everything Neil Gaiman writes. He's more of a novelist these days. And one of his big books, American Gods, is just coming out as a TV series, which everyone's saying is the best thing ever. And to watch it here, I'll have to subscribe to Amazon Prime, and I don't really know if I want to do that. Oh, Village of the Damned. That is actually based on a John Wyndham book called The Midwich Cuckoos. John Wyndham was one of my favourite authors when I was a young lad at school and a sci-fi nerd. Same guy who did The Day of the Triffids did The Midwich Cuckoos, which was turned into Village of the Damned, because I think they thought the name Midwich Cuckoos was too oblique. In the book, the town is called Midwich, and the children are the cuckoos, because the cuckoo bird lays its egg in another bird's nest and tricks that bird into raising its baby. And in this book, the kids are obviously, the women have been impregnated by aliens, and these kids are all alien offspring. But John Wyndham wrote a lot of good books. Tintin was good. I used to love Tintin and Asterisk comics as a kid. And the Chrysalids, that is another good one. There's a lot of John Wyndham's book titles are not particularly saleable. The Chrysalids is a really good story. Probably the most saleable book titles he had were probably Day of the Triffids, which most people know, and he had one called The Kraken Wakes, which is about something that lives below the sea coming into conflict with humans. And it's quite a spectacular conflict in the end. Ooh, there's a Tintin store in Singapore. I like the sound of that. Even though a lot of Tintin was really racist. As a kid, not really noticing that. But you look at some of the Tintin titles now and you go, that is particularly racist. Astro Boy is dark as fuck. Like, Astro Boy starts with the scientist's son getting killed, and he makes Astro Boy as a replacement for the kids. Best book, I Am David. Oh, I think I've heard of that. I haven't read it. So this is good. I love this discussion. You know, talk about things we like and share and throw things out there, and people might find something new to pick up. Oh yeah, Asterix is not as bad as Tintin, but yeah, pretty dodgy. Oh, another really dodgy one. There's a real sort of, anyone who's into comics would know Will Eisner. He was a real pioneer of 20th century comics from very early in the 20th century, quite a few years. His biggest one was called The Spirit, but he wrote some that were like narrative stories about, he was from New York, and I read one and it was like the history of New York, from the first sort of where New York is just farms basically, through to its eventual growth into a city. Thank you, Kane. I'd love your support. And it's a really amazing rambling read that, you know, goes for 150 years. But The Spirit, which is broadly quite good, the early editions of The Spirit were really racist. Like, he draws black guys as full-on monkeys. The later ones he doesn't. His later illustrations are way less racist, but the early ones, he did the black guys as full-on monkeys. But interestingly, there's one storyline where he's got all these black guys, he's very monkeyish, but there's a black girl that is sweet on the spirit, and she's drawn as like a cute little girly type figure. And you look at that like, black guys are great big apes, but the black girls are cute. It's like, I think Will Eisner had a bit of thing for the brown sugar. I think we can see what he's interested in here. But he got way less racist as he went on. Someone just commented, Trump's trying to get rid of the Antiquities Act. That sounds bizarre. I mean, ceased to try and process anything Trump does because it's all so freaking deranged. What's he trying to get? Oh, Roald Dahl. Like, I read a fascinating story, and you never know what's really true. But someone from one of the book publishers who published Dahl's earlier books, and Trump went on to another publisher, dumped them, publisher where he got the money. But someone who worked at the other publisher, told this story about Dahl being just horrific to be around, and just being really anti-Semitic, just being a horrible bigot. It's really hard to know what's true. It's just he's saying something, and Roald Dahl's dead now. It's not like he can defend himself. But it sounds plausible. I did just like the comment about Trump being Mango Mussolini or Agent Orange. I like that. Cinnamon Hitler. We'll just break Godwin's law straight away. Yes, it's some of the more thoughtful pieces I've read about the behaviour of the Trump administration, because it's fucking mental. But as one person pointedly noted, the actions of the Trump administration are such that it's impossible to tell if they're really, really evil or really, really incompetent, because the outcome would be the same. When we look at the outcomes, that could be happening because these guys are really, really evil, or it could be happening because they're really fucking incompetent and they actually don't realise how much they're fucking up. There's an old saying about never ascribe to malice that which is adequately explained by incompetence. As in, when you see someone and you think, why did they do that? That was a really evil thing to do. They might just be really stupid. Oh, deep state. You're right, Jahama. It's deep state. They just keep making shit up. They come up with buzzwords and catchphrases. Like anything he doesn't agree with is fake news. Why are there people sort of leaking against Trump and making known the bad things Trump's do? Ooh, there's a deep state. It's hidden enemy agents within government things. My God. Yeah, well, Trump's son wanting to play Xbox during the inauguration shows he's got better judgment than Trump. But it's an interesting point about Trump, because the reason... Okay, and this is, tell the truth about Trump. A lot of the things he said about the Republican establishment during the campaign was all true. And particularly when he was saying, you guys just use talking points, you don't even believe anything and whatnot. And it was true, and they didn't have a comeback against it. And, he swept them all aside. But I'm sure he loves the fact that they all came sucking up to him when he won. He had all these people saying, no, Trump's unfit, Trump's terrible, Trump's this, Trump's that. But when he won, they all came simpering up to him. And I'm sure he loves that. And honestly, he deserves to rub their noses in it. One of my favourites was Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney, who made very, very strong anti-Trump statements. But then when Trump's in, he actually had meetings with Trump to try and get a job, Secretary of State or something. And one could argue that Romney said, I should go in there and try and be a mitigating force of reason in there. But it really just looked like Romney wanted to get his hands on the goodies. And not to forget, Romney is a failed presidential candidate and Trump is a successful presidential candidate. And I think Trump really wanted to rub his nose in it. And there's that famous pictures when they had dinner together and they had a photo put out. I love someone turned it into a meme that had Trump saying to Romney, go ahead, tell them your name. And Romney looks around and says, my name is Reek, which is a good one for fans of Games of Thrones. Hi, Mike. Yes, we're now discussing Trump's an Atari 2600 in an Xbox world, or a Pong game, perhaps. Did you know the early video games, like Pong, they actually had a huge physical component under the table? Like when you were twiddling the dials to make the things go up and down, that wasn't electronic. You were moving a physical thing that moved the light back and forth. This huge... Oh, I saw one taken apart and it was incredible. Like, you know, unlike anything from the 80s on that was all pixels, this had this huge physical component that you were actually moving things around inside the console, which blew my mind when I saw that. I had no idea. And it's actually an interesting read. There's a few books, I think, about, you know, the guy who invented Pong and made a fortune by getting it put in bars and stuff. Because it was completely new. It was completely different. And trying to sell people on it was a real uphill thing. But, you know, it was hugely successful once it got out there. But doing something completely new like that is no small feat, quite honestly. So you've got to give me a thumbs up for that. Oh, Commodore 64 tape drives. I played with tape drive computers like the one Tandy Electronics or Radio Shack used to sell, the TRS-80. Oh, you do arcade repairs? Like, I've known people who've actually had old school arcade machines, like, you know, put up in their garage, in their rumpus room. You know, they find someone who can put it together and put it in a console. So you got all stand-up Space Invaders or something. It's pretty cool. Here's a real bit of trivia, because the cassette drives, they literally put the programs onto the computer with sound. Like, we didn't listen to the sound, but they were actually putting it on with sound. There was a period in the 80s where you could get vinyl records that like a B-side was a computer game. The Thompson twins did this, and a few others did it. You could connect your record player to the computer and play this record, which if you listen to it just sounded like sort of like modem noises, scratches and squeals, but it would install a really shitty game on your PC, and that's pretty spectacular, really. God, I worked with people who programmed punch cards. Yes, I never programmed punch cards, but in my younger days, I worked with people who programmed punch cards. That's how far we have changed. Yeah, well, see that, and that's the thing. You can use a signal to communicate with a computer, which will then transform it into something else. So yeah, it can be video, it can be a game, it can be any sort of computer program, basically, can be made from noise, which is full on when you think about it. Tech mode, I do not know that one. It sounds interesting though. Yeah, BBC Micros. I used an Apple II at school and learned really basic programming. Some of the smarter kids went off and learned some machine language like COBOL or whatever. But I only learned the really basic stuff. SWAT 4. What platform was SWAT 4? We've now changed topics and we're on to computer games. I yeah, like I played with old Apple computers and uh, the early Windows machines. I remember playing, was it Doom? I think it was Doom. On dial-up, like playing against someone on dial-up, because and that wasn't through the internet as such. It was literally connecting phone to phone, and Doom was such a simple game. Like you could fit it on a floppy disk. It could transmit down the phone line, and we would actually play one-on-one matches just down the phone line. Yeah. The early games did not need a lot of bandwidth. Quake and Doom and similar things. I've never been like a gun player, but I played like Wolfenstein, and we've still got working Nintendo 64. I'm not a hipster. I just have it from when it was new, and so yeah, like my kids grew up playing Mario Kart and Zelda on the Nintendo 64. CS:GO. I still don't play online games. Like of recent games that I enjoy playing, the Borderlands series I think is fun. I quite like playing, and I replay it as the different characters, like Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. And I've done about half of that story one, Tales from the Borderlands. Nobody killed you. Nice. That's good. What were the only consoles we had? A Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 2, and we kept buying Nintendo ones. Like I got a Wii and a Wii U, and now I've got a Switch. And recently, like for Christmas, got my kids a PlayStation 4. So they play a lot of stuff on the Switch and the PlayStation, and then they play online games, sometimes League of Legends, that sort of stuff. I played a bit of Ratchet and Clank and a bit of, not so much Spyro, but Crash. Yeah, I've done about half of Tales from the Borderlands. It's quite good. I am currently replaying the pre-sequel Borderlands, just playing through as another character, Wilhelm, and I'm finished it once, so I'm redoing it at the harder level, True Vault Hunter. Yeah, I love the jokes in the Borderlands one. I think they've good sense of humor. Losing the PS2 sucks, man. Still play it occasionally. Like the Battlefront games, the Star Wars Battlefront games, and Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas on PS2. Really enjoy that. Never actually finished San Andreas, actually. I got distracted because you go on for ages and ages and ages. Then I got I'm no good at flying games. I just think my 360 spatial awareness is terrible. Whenever a game becomes a flying game, I'm terrible. Oh yeah, renting video games. Yes, I did that. Now I've never played Assassin's Creed. I actually do not play that many games. So, World of Tanks. Yes, I heard jokes about some of the World War II simulator games. You get people who play the Nazis, and they're all either Germans or a lot of southern US accents, which can get a bit creepy. So, yes. I don't know about that. Assassin's Creed 3 is... Wait, if you changed your mind, is it Assassin's Creed 2 or 3 that's good? MS Flight Sim. Yeah, that's about my speed, really. I do want to play, because I liked Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I want to know what's the best of the recent Grand Theft Auto games, like for the PS4. Which one's better? Because I like those. Goat Simulator. I haven't played Goat Simulator, but I've seen Goat Simulator. 4. Grand Theft Auto 4 is the best. Often, here's the thing, when I start asking people, 5, there you go. Arguments started already. There you go. Oh, Black Flag's the pirate one, isn't it? Vortex. We've got an argument over Grand Theft 4 and 5. Oh well. When I bring that up, some people bring up Mafia 3. They reckon that's really good gameplay. I don't know because I haven't played it. But, you know, you do get to attack a clan meeting. So it's got that going for it. Finish my drink. Call of Duty. Blaze. No, I have not seen the trailer. That's true. There's nothing as bad as not knowing what the controls are. But yeah, I have to decide because I probably get I probably get GTA 4 for dirt cheap, so I might get that. Yeah, I'm not gonna drink anymore because I got to go to bed. I don't want to get up in the middle of the night and have to go to the toilet. The storyline in San Andreas was great. Like, so I never actually finished it, but the game was great. There's a what's the time? I don't know if you can hear in the other room. Mrs. Angry and her son are watching Star Trek. When they finish watching, I'll probably finish. It'll be sometime in the next 15-20 minutes. Early shift. Have a good one, Aussie Brick Chick. Oh god, tomorrow I'm probably going to go, instead of going to work, I'm going to go to the tenants union because my my former landlord is being a complete dickhole. Not only is he arguing that I shouldn't get my bond back on the last place that I lived for 10 years, he's arguing that I should pay for all these renovations he wants to do because apparently it's my fault his house is old. You know, it's everything like painting and recarpeting and saying $30,000 will do it. He thinks I should be paying $30,000 for him to do renovations. So I'm going to see what advice the tenants union give me. But I've got a VCAT hearing on Tuesday. So I'm hoping they just go like, dude, get over it. It was 10 years. Wear and tear, buddy. But I don't know what's going to happen. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense at all. And I'm hoping that's what VCAT says. They just say, this doesn't make any sense. Let's just not do this. But until it happens, I don't really know what's going to happen. On the surface, it makes no sense and it should just get thrown out. But, you know, until it actually happens, there's that slight misgiving. So it's like, oh, God, I don't know what's going to happen. So there we go. Bond. No, Joe, don't be sorry. I like that Bond villain pun. No, I did not trash the place. Well, you don't normally get represented in VCAT as to legal aid. So, no, the former landlord is a horrible, grumpy old man who I'm sure does not know how computers work. So, I have very little chance of him coming on this live stream. I will actually do an update on how it went because I've told a few people of my trials and tribulations and it's been very stressful. So I hope it's just over after Tuesday. I hope it's not over and saying, yeah, no, you should pay him $30,000. Punches work. Oh dear. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Okay, peace out, Damage. But yeah, there is that. So I'm going to the tenants union tomorrow before I go to work to say, is it my imagination or is this crazy? Because it seems crazy. And I'm hoping on Tuesday it goes without too many. But I really just want to ask the tenants union, like, is there anything I should know? Are there any sort of general rules? Yeah. I mean, seriously. you know, I don't even want to say what I've had fantasies of doing because they're all criminal. They're all really, really criminal. I think completely justified, and you know, any reasonable person would think I was in the right to do the things I've been thinking of. But technically, you know, they're a bit murdery. They're a bit illegal. Yeah. So I'm, you know, just hoping that he has a big, because he's a really nasty, grumpy old man, and I just hope the VCAT people start saying this doesn't seem right, and he just goes SPAC, and then they go, oh no, you are a SPAC, we're not going to listen to you. Yes, I need the lawyer from the castle to represent me. Like Charles Spencer. Yeah, but well, this guy never replaced anything. Like, it wasn't new carpet or paintwork when we moved in, and there were lots of broken things in there, and he didn't replace the carpet or the paint when we moved out. But now he thinks we should pay for it after 10 years. It's like, I don't think you understand the concept of normal wear and tear, dude. I really don't think you understand how those things work. But hopefully it will be over soon, and hopefully it will be in our favour, because I really don't like the idea of owing this guy money. That I don't see it going that way, but you know, I won't know for sure until next week. Fucking photocopier. Castle's a great movie, isn't it? But speaking about Australian comedy, you know, all the people who died in the last year, and everyone's going, oh no, oh that was my childhood, blah, 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 blah. And I was never particularly troubled by it. I mean, you know, I appreciated the impact of Bowie and Prince dying in such a short period of time, like two people who'd been such huge figures in music dying so close to each other. And yeah, there seemed to be a lot, of things like, Alan Rickman and a lot of others, celebrity ones. A lot of them were dying young, like too young. Oh yeah, Carrie Fisher was a sad one. But as people die. But the one that got me recently was John Clark, the New Zealander / Australian satirist John Clark, dying suddenly. And I was like, oh, no, okay, I don't like that one. That one gets me a bit. And yeah, if you saw, there was like a little half-hour tribute to him done on the ABC. And just like, nobody anywhere has a bad word to say about John Clark. He's amazing. It was amazing that no one had anything bad to say. Look again. See this thing, like Robin Williams was a loss, but I wasn't really cut up. I mean, it got to the stage. Honestly, it started to bug me last year. Like the really obscure B-list celebrities from 30 years ago were dying, and people are going, oh no, oh that's awful. I was going, what the fuck? That person hasn't been in the public eye for decades. Like, I seriously saw people saying they were upset about the death of someone who hadn't been on TV since before they were born. I mean, yes, you see them in reruns. It's like an actor who's from Bewitched or Hogan's Heroes. And it's kind of like, for real? You're saying you're upset about someone who stopped being on TV before you were born? In what world are you fucking attached to that person? I just think it went a bit far with everyone going, I'm so upset about this person dying. Okay. But, everyone's different. But, I am a cynical bastard. But, John Clark dying suddenly got to me. This year is a bad year for comedians. Legend Don Rickles dies. Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's brother, dies of leukemia. far too young, only like 57. And now John Clark. So yeah, it seems like it's a bad year for comedians at the moment. So you got to be careful. I don't even know. It's a new series of Twin Towers. I don't even know what that is. So I'm lost. I mean, where I think it'd be difficult when people work on a show, when you're watching a show, when someone in the show that's still running, when they die, like the voice actor who played, we were talking about Archer earlier, the actor who played his butler died. And for a year he wasn't in it because he was very sick, and they were just making references to the character having disappeared because he was a heroin addict. But this year, they finally said, yeah, he's dead. The character's dead. And yeah, I'm with you, Catherine. I actually do that. If an actor or musician dies, sometimes watch their stuff, listen to their stuff, their contribution. Oh my God. Oh God. And for people who think I only block right-wing nut jobs and I'm a slave to the feminazis, I do remember blocking someone who declared herself a feminist when I talked about David Bowie after David Bowie died, because you got these people saying, oh, why are you idolising David Bowie? He was a child rapist and did terrible things and was a Nazi. And the Nazi stuff's not true. But in the 70s, in his early days of stardom, when Bowie was in Los Angeles, there was this scene called the Baby Groupies, where these girls who were like 12, 13 were dressing up and showing up in hotel rooms with rock stars and shagging them. And in some cases, some of the rock stars, a guy from Led Zeppelin, had relationships running for years with like 13-year-olds. And Bowie definitely did have sex with a 13-year-old, which is criminal and immoral and not forgivable. But it's not something he made a habit of either. And I just sort of reflect about, if you're going to write off like someone, 4 or 5 decades of work because they did a really fucked up thing, I don't think you understand how the world works, particularly that rarefied world of pop stars and movie stars. It's inexcusable. Not making an excuse for him doing it. It was wrong, and he knew it was wrong and didn't do it, and knew he shouldn't have done it, but did it anyway. And certainly if he made a habit of it, like Gary Glitter, I would have nothing but bad things to say about him. But I certainly acknowledged that he did it and it was wrong and there's no excuse for it. But the idea of writing off, a 4 or 5 decade career because of that, I think is a bit detached from reality. And this one commenter said she was a feminist. She went railing at me like, no, he's absolutely disgusting. It has to be written off. And I went, well, if that's how you want to see things, that's cool. That isn't how I see things. And she had another go at me, and I said, you can see things however you like. I explained how I see things. And, looks like we have a different opinion. And then she came back with, it's not acceptable for us to have a different opinion. I have to say that she's right. And I was like, okay, we crossed the line there. You just told me I'm not allowed to have a different opinion to you. Time for you to fuck off. So yeah, I don't just block right-wing nut jobs. Anyone who tells me how I have to think and who won't back... See, you can say it once and I don't care. Someone says, no, you're wrong. If you... No, I don't care. But when you won't shut the fuck up, then that's like... It's like, no, you get to have your say. You just don't get to berate me because I don't do it. So, yes. Sorry, there was a question there that I was going to answer and it's already gone out of my... Jim Jeffries, that was what the question was. I think Jim Jeffries can be funny. I think Jim Jeffries can be lazy. Yeah, he's okay. He's not someone I idolise. I think he's got some pretty severe flaws in his material, but he's basically to me is quite a spectrum. I think he does a lot of really good, interesting, challenging stuff, and then I think he does a lot of really lazy stuff that belongs in a 1970s RSL club. So yeah, I don't think I'd ever spend money to see Jim Jeffries, but I don't particularly hate on him. I hate some of his material, but I really like some of his material. But yeah, I think some of his stuff is really lazy. Oh, actually, Gavrock, I'm with you. Where he took down Piers Morgan on live TV, that was hysterical. Like, Piers Morgan's trying to be the establishment. Saying, well, you can't be that rude. And Jim Jeffries is literally saying, get fucked. And he took down, and because Piers Morgan is a piece of shit. Yeah, the way Jim Jeffries took him down was really funny. Oh yeah, J.K. Rowling on Twitter tearing apart Piers Morgan was pretty goddamn funny. Basically, Piers Morgan is pathetic and everyone should tear him apart. Yeah. Yeah. Piers Morgan is typical in that he's a hypocrite and liar. Glad Jim Jeffries doesn't use a puppet. Like, is this a guy who does Ahmed the Dead Terrorist? It's like, yeah, good on you, buddy. That's class. You're classy. But who does? Well, he doesn't use a puppet, but he works with a puppet. Australian comic Sammy J, who I think is really good. He's done some stuff with a puppet. It was that TV series they did, Ricketts Lane. What's the puppet called? My brain's gone blank. Who knows Sammy J? But they're not actually. It's not like Jeff Dunham or at all. It's not Sammy J. Randy, that's it. Thank you, Bo. It's someone else doing the puppet Randy. So Randy does some stuff. Look, now everyone's Randy. I think everyone in this chat is turned on. Spontaneously, everyone's let me know they're Randy. See what I did there? Sammy J went to a Catholic school. Oh my God. I actually saw Sammy J when he was in his very first Melbourne Comedy Festival show. And he ended up winning Best Newcomer that year. And that was incidentally when I reconnected with Aidy. See, Aidy and I did the same uni course, a theatre degree. And my last year was his first year. So we knew each other from there. But then I didn't see him for ages. But then I was in line to see Sammy J, and the next door venue was where a show Aidy directed was on, and he recognised me in the line and went, "Oh, what are you doing? Come and see my show another night." And then I told him about the stuff I was doing on YouTube, and that was on YouTube. And then we started working together on YouTube, and the rest is history. Yeah, I think Sammy J is really funny. Jude, how is Aidy? Sick, even by his standards, although I did see him on the weekend and he was in good spirits, so that's nice. And he's really hopeful that he'll be well enough. You'll be seeing him in videos again soon, as soon as I can get him over here, basically. So I was on Saturday, he was over at my place on Saturday night, and I was kind of thinking I'd make a video then, but we were possibly under the weather, as the saying goes, the worse for wear, tired and emotional, and the video camera never turned on. So probably would have been funny if it did, but we didn't do that. So, but we will do it again soon. It's kind of funny, like when people say, "Oh, he's always almost dying," Catherine. Like, so if I say Aidy is bad by his standards, it's what other people would call close to death. So, but that's normal for Aidy. So, you know, we don't worry too much about that. We just hope he feels a bit better, and we'll see him soon again in Videoland. Yeah, hopefully as soon as this weekend even. So that would be good. But yes, life's a constant adventure with Aidy. His most recent effort was running to go for a tram and tripping and breaking a rib and cracking his sternum, which incapacitated him for a week or two. So, a meltdown video. Big Dad adds, what would you describe as a meltdown video? Because I do meltdowns. I do. So I'm kind of interested in what you would see as a meltdown video. Like, you know, I had a meltdown at someone on Facebook last year, which caused a lot of comment among the people who did, but I just thought someone was being a complete cunt. And they wouldn't shut up when I just said, well, you know, if you're going to do that, fuck you, I'm writing you off. Has Aidy ever been healthy? Good question, Celtic King. The short answer is yes. Until he was about 30. Like if you watch Code Grey, he says when it happened. When he was about 30, he got rheumatoid arthritis, which is a very debilitating illness, and he had to go through chemo to try and combat it, and they didn't really combat it very well, so it's left him partially crippled, the rheumatoid arthritis, and the chemo and the arthritis fucked his immune system about a lot, and so he was particularly susceptible to other illnesses and infections. And that culminated with just when everything was looking good for him. He's like he had been a stand-up comedian, but the rheumatoid arthritis made him too sick to sort of survive the punishing life of a stand-up comedian. He looked too sick on stage and audiences didn't find that funny. Yeah, he was very unlucky to get the rheumatoid arthritis. Just when he was reinventing himself, he a successful director of comedy shows. He was basically setting up as like a company. He had this brand new world happening, and he had some friends over, and essentially he got bitten on the scrotum by an ant, which was like, ow! And so he scratches, and it's like, ow! Oh, you bastard ant! Why did you do that? Like he was wearing shorts, and so he killed the ant. And he was one of the unlucky ones in that whether it was just something in the air or something was already on his skin, or the ant had some sort of contaminant, or maybe under his nails was some sort of contaminant. When he scratched it, he got an infection into his system, and it was basically flesh-eating disease, necrotizing fasciitis. And so apparently the next day his balls had swollen up to about this big, which he thought was pretty neat, but his missus said, no, that's not good. Okay, see you, Taz. And he went to hospital, and apparently only just in time, because if he had been just an hour later getting to the hospital, he would have been dead. As it was, it advanced so quickly, this flesh-eating necrotizing fasciitis, they were basically sure he was going to die. Like 95% of people who get this level of infection die. Like it's more deadly than Ebola. Spectacularly, what they did, because it started in his scrotum, right, and it's going up into his legs. They saved his balls. Interesting. They didn't save his scrotum. They cut his scrotum off because of something, and I shit you not, they stored his balls in his thighs for a year while the healing took place, and then they cut off a flap of skin and made him a nice little coin purse scrotum, which he assures me, because it's not a normal scrotum, it's really smooth and hairless. He keeps saying he wants to show it to me, and I keep refusing that kind offer. So, he died twice in a week. He was in an induced coma for a fortnight. He revived, and the necrotizing fasciitis poisoned his blood as well, which poisoned all his organs. You're right, Jude. It's Fournier's gangrene. Don't look that up on Google image search, by the way. That's a bit... Fournier's gangrene is some very unpleasant images. So it's damaged all his internal organs. Like, it was basically in danger of liquefying all his internal organs. He recovered from that, but he's really susceptible to infection and illness. Like, people who pick on him because all his teeth are rotting out. That's like a semi-cancerous infection in his jaw that's killing his teeth. Well, little dreamer, I like to share. All his teeth are dying and gradually falling out. He was supposed to have them all pulled out and get like dentures, or not implants, it would be dentures, I think. And I don't know, for whatever reason that hasn't happened for the last year or so. But he told me the other day he's actually got a date set to have the final little rotting stumps cleared out. And that's in June. And then that has to all heal before they do anything. I think that takes like a month to heal. So he'll have no teeth for a month. So he'll have to learn to talk without teeth. You know, he's going to do anything he eats will be through store. No, Gav, is the dental infection going to stop at the teeth? He's already had large amounts of his jaw cut out. Because the worst case scenario, which didn't happen, fortunately, when they go in and cut stuff out, they say, look, the worst case, if this is a real, like, full-on cancer going through the jaw, we'll actually have to take your jaw out. Like what happened to the film critic Roger Ebert. He actually had his jaw removed. And so, of course, you can't talk. Once your jaw's gone, you can't talk. But it was a life-saving thing. So that was a possibility for Aidy, that they were going to do that, which I wasn't really impressed with. But when they did some surgery, they were able to cut out some nasty stuff and they didn't have to go. But he has lost a bit of his jaw, and he doesn't have that many teeth left, and soon he won't have any. And yes, he'll have to try and learn to talk without any teeth. And hopefully he will heal up before too long, and then they can fit some dentures. He'll do the old Shane McGowan and have fresh teeth. So that's something for him to look forward to. You're right, Big Bad Ads. That is exactly... See, particularly when he was at his worst, he did have one particularly choice visitor to the hospital saying, like, you're the unluckiest person in the world because you have the rheumatoid arthritis and you had that, now you have this, now you're like dying and stuff. Why are you so unlucky? And he said, well, that is one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is I'm the luckiest person in the world because all those things you mention could have killed me and do in fact kill many other people, but I survived. So, if you're not such a fucking downer, you can look at it and say, I'm the luckiest person in the world because I went through all this and I'm not dead. So he can be very philosophical at times, which is a good thing. So, so Aidy soldiers on, but I've had to tell him, he has to like message me every now and then, because if I hear nothing from him for a couple of days, I'm like, I wonder if he's dead, and like no one's told me yet, because it's a real risk with him. Yes, you're right about, he's got the cockroach-like thing of being able to survive. If you haven't seen it, you should, it's on YouTube, his stage show Code Grey, where he relates all of these stories. He also gets naked in it, if you're up for that. He's just mostly dead. Defensive wounds. No. He has such serious health issues. And the thing, just because of, the chemo from his rheumatoid arthritis and the damage done to his body by the Fournier's gangrene, he is so susceptible to illness and infection, and relatively minor things could kill him. Fell off planes. I know a bit of that story. He has this great thing. He opens Code Grey with, and he used to say in his show, and God, I'd like to do, yes, Jude, chemo for rheumatoid arthritis. That is the treatment they did. I've seen pictures of him when he was in chemo, and his skin is actually green, and he's really bloated. And he's not that impressed when I look at the photos from that period and call it his fat lesbian stage, because that's kind of what he looks like. So he had short hair and just big round face. Looked like the lecturers we had at uni. That's another story. So I had a train going there and I derailed it. Yep, no. I had something and I forgot. I was saying something about Aidy. Celtic King. Okay, we actually did this thing because in the stage show, in front of the audience, Aidy's completely naked. And a friend, Dave Blumenstein, also did a cartoon illustration of Aidy highlighting all the various injuries and scars and weird shit on his body. And also, just in case it was too traumatic for anyone, we made this little thing. It was you could call it a sculpture, I guess, of a cat juggling balls. You'd spin this thing so the balls went around in circles, so it looked like this kitty cat was juggling balls. And it's like, if you can't stand looking at Aidy, maybe look at the cartoon. If even that's full on, just look at the kitty juggling the balls. So on the YouTube video of Code Grey, we gave them a choice to put one of those, like those links you can put into YouTube videos, and it's like, okay, if you're up for seeing Aidy completely nude, just keep watching. If you'd rather see this bit with the cartoon, click here and you'll just see the cartoon for the rest of the video. And if all you can handle is the cat juggling balls, click here and you'll get the cat juggling balls. But you can go on YouTube, watch Aidy Code Grey and get the full Aidy. It's there. And some people say, hey, can you put nudity on YouTube? It's artistic, okay? It's as much as Aidy might argue with me on the point, it's not erotic. It's artistic. So yes, it's for artistic purposes, so we can get away with it. But yeah, at various times we've toyed with the idea of serializing Code Grey, making webisodes, maybe even animated ones, and redoing it. But that would be a lot of work, and we might still do it one day. But it would really lend itself to it because it is a very episodic story. He's telling you about different stages of his life, so you could very much do it in episodes, and it would be worthwhile. Because then, because the show was like an hour long, and it couldn't be any longer than an hour. So without the constraints of the live show, we could tell whatever story we wanted to. So, if you know any philanthropists who want to pay for us to develop the show, because it would be no small amount of work, hit a brother up. But okay, look, that's like 90 minutes I've been going now. So thank you all for joining me this evening. I had fun, and I think we had a lot of fun topics tonight. So yeah, thanks for dropping by. I'm going to do this, semi-regularly, maybe as often as once a week, maybe as often as twice a week. Who knows? This is kind of fun to do, and I've definitely missed doing it. And oh God, well, there's no clown outside the window, but my cat's just out there peering at me, which was a bit creepy, quite honestly. Probably wants me to let her in and feed her or something ridiculous like that. So I might fix that up before I go to bed. Thanks everyone for coming along. And keep tuned, obviously, for the more videos on the channel, and we'll be doing more live streams so we can get on and interact. Ron Hansen is at 8 a.m. watching just before work. Bye everyone, glad you liked the clown story. I really enjoyed the talk, and we'll do it again soon. I'll see you later. Bye now. Gotta end.